I recently went to the U2 concert at the SDCCU Stadium, which for the last 20 years was Qualcomm Stadium in Mission Valley, San Diego area. And I got to tell you, it's almost a 60-year-old stadium at this point, and it just is not wonderful for ADA accessible seating. I very purposely asked, I'm going to pick on some companies here, bought the tickets through Ticketmaster. It was put together by Live Nation. Very specifically asked for accessible seating. The way they numbered the tickets and gave us the seat and row and level, nobody in the stadium knew what our level was. We were level T, and we were looking for terrace. There's no such thing. They said, well, Live Nation can give these different names, so we had to ask 6, 7 different people. Finally got to our seats, and well, we'll show a clip here in a second. It was down, I think, 8 rows of steps, 8 rows of seats, and so we had to go down a bunch of steps. They made them they said they were handicapped accessible because they were the front row of the section, so you had leg room. But as you'll see in the tape, I mean, there's no way anybody in a wheelchair or can't go up and down steps could possibly get to them. Also, we found out later, every seat along that walkway, the stairs going down, the last seat on the edge is considered handicapped accessible as a transfer seat, because they say the armrest moves up, folds up, and you can transfer from your wheelchair to the seat. Well, it's in the middle of steps. That makes no sense. What wheelchair could possibly get to it? So there's no way that these seats are in any way, shape, or form accessible. I talked to the people at the stadium itself, and they made the comment as I was talking to them. They said, well, look, this is row 1. Handicapped accessible seating in our ballpark is always the last row of every section. You're always in the back. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, I know that. So their seats are numbered from front to back. So if you're buying what is purportedly accessible seats and your ticket says row 1, it's not going to be accessible. You are always in the very back. Then they proceeded to run us around the ballpark. They gave us 4 different options, which we had to go in person and look at to see if the seat was actually accessible. The first 3 weren't. They literally had us up on the 3rd deck, then in one of the middle decks at the opposite end. I mean, my friend ran around the ballpark looking for seating. Again, this stadium's 60 years old. At this point, how do they not know what seats are accessible or not? They just don't, though, somehow. So we finally, the 4th seat they sent us to was accessible, and I was able to use it. The problem is I was on the 2nd deck in the last row. The 3rd deck overhung us. So 2 things. From a concert perspective, being under the overhang of the level above, it was really echoey. It's too bad. It was a really good concert, but we couldn't understand any of the words that they were saying between songs. And the songs were just really echoey and muddy because we were under concrete. The only way to be out on the field, if you are going to a concert at this ballpark, the only way to not be under a concrete overhang is to be on the field level. There is a row of seats that is accessible. That's the only place I would possibly sit. Go for field level. Anything else is going to be either not accessible when you actually get there, or you're going to have a really echoey concert. Because the level above us was overhanging us so much, we couldn't even see. If you stood up, you couldn't see the video boards. So you had to stay seated in order to see, but then you're just looking at the people in front of you's back. So it's really unfortunate. Honestly, I have to say, if you're disabled and going to a concert at this stadium, I would maybe go see them in Vegas or Phoenix or somewhere else, because it's really not a great place to see a concert. As far as sporting events go, just know any handicapped accessible seat in the entire ballpark, you're not going to be able to see anything that goes up in the air. I went to a Charger game there years ago. You can't see punts, you can't see long passes because you're in the back of the section, and the level above you is always overhanging you and blocking your view. So SDCCU Stadium in San Diego, not a great place for handicapped seating.